Ski and snowboard trips can be great fun, but can also get very expensive, with one of the biggest costs being your accommodation, especially if you're going over school holidays. One way to substantially reduce costs is to rent an apartment and self-cater all your meals, but what kind of room and facilities can you expect at the budget end of the market, and how much are you likely to save? Remember, we may be talking about a budget room in terms of quality, but based in a very expensive location, so it is important to manage your expectations. In this video, I'll show you around a typical ski apartment in the French Alps that's aimed at up to 4 people. Now, I've stayed in multiple apartments in this part of the world, and while the prices do vary by resort and their proximity to it, the actual rooms and their services are pretty consistent at this level. For this particular video, I stayed in the small town of Orelle, alongside the vast Vallées region, the largest ski area in the world. The Vallées linked the resorts of Courchevel, Mirabel and Val Thorens, but over the years have grown to include numerous satellite areas that provide access for more affordable accommodation. Orelle itself now boasts a modern 2-stage gondola that whisks 10 people per cabin from the town at around 900 metres or 3,000 feet to the first ski base at Plan Boucher, and that's around 2,300 metres or 7,500 feet, and that takes only about 15 minutes. And it's included as part of an Orelle Val Thorens pass or the full Vallées pass. Now, this base area has got some great runs, especially in the morning, and is actually one of my favourite parts of the Vallées region. But what makes it really special is the second stage of the gondola, which takes you all the way up to a ridge at 3,200 metres, that's 10,500 feet, in about 6 minutes. There's some absolutely stunning views at the top, and from there, your Orelle Pass lets you ski all right down into Val Thorens, regularly ranked as one of the best ski resorts in the world. And if you have the full Vallées Pass, you can then continue on to Mirabel and Courchevel beyond. It's even possible for pedestrians to travel between Orelle and the centre of Val Thorens on connecting gondolas without ever getting their feet wet. Although if you are thinking about taking any amount of luggage with you, I would recommend avoiding the earliest and latest lists of the day. I'm going to be making a separate video comparing the resorts of Orelle and Val Thorens, but this particular video is all about the ski apartment, so let's get on with it. I stayed at the Résidence Orelle Vallées for 1 week over New Year 2025 to 2026, paying just over £1,000 for an apartment that could sleep 4 people, and that included bedding. Note the room was managed by Alti Resid and was booked through booking.com. Similar apartments in the main Vallées resorts like Val Thorens were priced closer to £2,000 for the same period, so there's big savings to be had if you're willing to trade ski in, ski out and a pretty substantial nightlife for a gondola ride there and back to a fairly sleepy small town. Now, we visited during one of the busiest and most expensive times, but if you can stay outside of school or public holidays, you should be able to pay a bit less, especially if you book in advance. Now, most ski apartments in this part of France are built into large, chalet-styled buildings. Occasionally, there's just the one building, but commonly several are grouped together. Now, these may share common facilities, including a reception and parking, but they are generally owned by multiple companies or even individuals. Some apartments may be entirely private, others run as Airbnbs, while a collection could be managed by an agency. As such, each one may offer a slightly different experience, especially in terms of what's included. At the budget end of the market, you may get duvets and pillows for the beds, but the sheets and towels are almost always extras. You can rent them at most places, or of course bring your own. And if you're driving, I'd also recommend packing a few spare toilet rolls, as your room may only come with one. Most will also require that you give the apartment a clean when you leave. Our room came with sheets and an impressive 3 toilet rolls, but it's still considerably different from a fully serviced hotel room. The Résidence Orelle Vallées consists of 9 buildings, one for the shared facilities at the front and the other 8 for their apartment blocks. They're all pretty close together, but you should be prepared to unload your gear through or around the main building along a series of paths to get to your room. Now, this has been standard practice in all of the French apartments that I've stayed at, often involving a combination of lugging your gear through lifts, corridors and paths. It will take some time to unload, but if you employ your family, you should be fully done in about half an hour. As for parking, some apartment blocks offer a car park on site, but you'll almost certainly be paying extra for it. Prices vary wildly from as little as €30 for a week to over €100 depending on the resort and your dates. Many apartments have got free street parking nearby, but spaces inevitably fill up fast and are snatched the moment you leave, even if just for a brief trip out. Others rely on third-party car parks, but again, you'll be paying for these, and even these ones can fill up, forcing you further from your accommodation. Luckily, most resorts in this area also provide a number of free bus services which connect various car parks with the popular accommodation areas and lifts. Résidence Orelle Vallées has a free navette or bus that picks up and drops off directly outside the building to coincide with the start and the end of the main gondola service. This runs several times during these periods and takes about 5 minutes each way. That said, it's also a fairly easy walk down to the gondola from this place in about 10 minutes, at least if you've got snowboard boots or when it's not too slippery. Moving on to the room, most one-bedroom apartments consist of a main room with a sofa bed and basic cooking and dining facilities, and then a pair of bunk beds that are squeezed into a separate room or sometimes housed in the corridor. This apartment in Résidence Orelle Vallées was a little larger than many that we've rented before, allowing the sofa bed to be left set up without compromising the kitchen and dining area. The beds also vary hugely in quality between apartments, but the sofa bed here was fairly large and quite comfortable. Some of the beds I've slept in at other apartments have been little more than basic mattresses on a pull-out trolley, or a sofa bed that's well past its best. Thankfully, after a day skiing, you're going to be pretty tired though. As for cooking, you can normally expect 2 or 4 electric hobs, and often a microwave oven too, as well as a fridge and sometimes a dishwasher. Ours included all of that, and the fridge freezer was also larger than most of the apartments that we've stayed at. As a European apartment, you should also get a kettle and maybe a coffee machine too. Some apartments go as far as to also offer fondue or raclette equipment, in addition to some basic pots and pans. We generally bring pre-made meals or sauces from home for easy assembly after a day on the slopes. All but the cheapest apartment should include a small private bathroom and toilet, although some may only offer a stand-up shower versus a full bath. We've only stayed in one apartment that had a shared bathroom, and that was only between 2 rooms. Thankfully, the compact size of most ski apartments makes them fairly easy to heat, and all of the ones that we stayed at could become as toasty as you like. Many also include a balcony area where you could sit out or store equipment, some even with a nice view if you're lucky. Speaking of equipment, all the ski apartments we stayed at have included storage lockers, typically in a shared room at the base of the building. The better ones might even have boot warmers. This one was slightly unusual though, in having a cupboard by the entrance of each apartment, which could accommodate equipment for 4 people. Now that might be the extent of the shared facilities in the most basic of apartment blocks, but some may include more. For example, the Résidence Orelle Vallées included a reasonable sized indoor pool area with a sauna, steam room and hot tub for guests. Now it did get pretty busy every night, at least during the time that we stayed, but it was still a really nice bonus. They also had one of the only restaurants and bars in the Orelle area, and that was located in the main building below the swimming pool, and that was pretty useful for those not wanting to cook every night in their apartments, as Orelle itself again has very few options for eating out or entertainment. The prices were also cheaper than similar restaurants in the main Trois Vallées resorts. On the ground floor was a public laundrette, as well as a small shop selling food basics, as well as being able to book takeout meals or bread and pastries for the next day. Again, this is more because Orelle itself has no supermarket or bakery versus the better equipped resorts, which typically have multiple options for buying food, albeit at fairly high prices due to their location. We kept costs down by bringing most of our food from home, topping up with some fresh ingredients from larger supermarkets that we encountered en route, and only ordered bread on site. So that's my tour of a typical lower cost French ski apartment. If you've never stayed in one before, you may be a bit surprised by the need to bring or rent bedding and towels, as well as the often cramped sleeping arrangements and fairly laborious unloading process from your car. But again, what I've shown here is fairly representative of most of the ones that I've stayed at in the region, and to be honest, once you're used to the process, they're absolutely fine. But if you're horrified by the prospect that I've shown here, you could always go for a serviced hotel room, but you will be missing out on cooking facilities and be paying considerably more for your meals. It's your choice. As for Résidence Orelle Vallées, the room was larger and more comfortable than average. The shared facilities from the pool to the restaurant were pretty good, and the service from the main Alti Resid reception at the front and in the spa area was very friendly and helpful. Now I mentioned this as the building actually includes 2 apartment agencies, each with their own reception area, but the other one seems to get worse reviews than the one that we booked through, but those reviews are sometimes applied to the wrong Google Maps business address. So my experience is that Alti Resid did a fine job and I can recommend using them. Let me know in the comments how this compares to any ski apartments that you've experienced around the world, and what you personally look for on a winter holiday. And if you found any of this useful, I'd really appreciate it if you could give the video a like and even my channel a follow, and I hope that you get a chance to check out some of my other videos here. Also remember to look out for my video that compares Orelle and Val Thorens. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.